There are radical changes to how orcs are playing in 11th edition. Guys, we have the new dispositions. I'm pretty sure you've already dove into them, but yeah, missed something really freaking big. Let's get into it. I'm Doc Crump. I'm a top 100 player in the world, and I am a professional 40K coach. I'm also a chiropractic neurologist in my previous career, and I love all things strategy and tactics on this channel. I help you develop the critical thinking skills needed to become the best that you can possibly be. So we're going to dive into the dispositions, which is the new way that we score points in 11th edition, specifically for the freaking orcs. And boy, howdy, are there some really cool things. I'm going to tell you my favorite combinations that we're going to see and how we're going to combine these different dispositions. And if you've been living under a rock, there's just so much information you need about the disposition. So we'll dive into it in today's video. I'm going to give you a bunch of new unit combinations as well that you might want to be considering for your new games of Warhammer 40K with the boys. So as far as dispositions are concerned, and the next slide I'll get into like what these things actually mean, but just so you guys know, for the orcs in particular, we have 4 dispositions that are going to be giving Purge the Foe, which is the disposition made for killing stuff. We've got 3 Take and Hold, 2 Reconnaissance, 2 Disruptions, and 1 Priority Assets. Not freaking bad, right? Okay, so what does this mean? Well, when we look at these detachment points, all it means is that whenever you build your army, just as a quick refresher for you guys, you can have up to 3 detachment points when you're building your army. So obviously, if you have a 2 detachment point detachment, then you can also add a 1 detachment point detachment. I'm going to start saying DP instead of detachment point. A 1 DP to the detachment so that you can end up with a total of 3 DP. So if I wanted to run Bully Boys, I could also run Roll and Death, for example. Or I could take our only 3 DP detachment, which is the War Horde. That's basically the way that stuff works. All right. So when we're going through this, the detachment that we bring is actually going to determine how we're going to build it. So here's a quick cheat sheet for you guys before I dive into unit combinations and stuff. Quick cheat sheet for you. Take and hold more objectives. That's basically what you got to do. There's going to be different options. So based off of which other disposition that you're playing against, you'll have a different primary mission. But all the 5 primary missions that you'll ever play is going to be roughly hold more objectives. At some point, you might have to kill a unit on an objective. For a purge, you're killing units, and you get some points for holding objectives. For priority assets, you're doing actions on objectives, typically near the center. Disruption, you're going to be trying to hold the enemies home. You're going to be doing actions. You're going to be doing killing. There's no focus. It's actually probably like the most varied of all of them. And then the last one, Reconnaissance, is all about just being in different places. So that's why Speed Wall and stuff is going to be really, really good for that. So that's the quick cheat sheet on what these dispositions are going to give you primary-wise that you're going to have to accomplish in order to actually score your points in the game. Keep that in mind. Now, here are the favorite combos that I've seen as far as these new dispositions are concerned. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to talk about some of the unit combinations that we can do in it that make this very, very freaking exciting. So in my opinion, War Horde is still goated. Doesn't mean that it is the clear winner. There are always going to be reasons why we're going to want to take different dispositions and different detachments, which is one of the cool things about 11th edition, because there is no longer going to be any meta. Let me explain why. Because in the meta, guys, this is the way that we score our dispositions is so much more complicated than people are used to. For any disposition you take, you have 5 combinations of what primary you'll actually be playing. On each one of those missions, there are going to be 3 different maps that you could be playing. So depending on the tournament that you are going to, you're going to be playing one of the 3 maps on each of the individual 5. It creates an insane amount of combinations that you could actually play on a tournament. You might be playing into an army that hard counters you. Let's just pretend for a second that orcs are really on the struggle bus against Tau. I don't particularly think they are, but let's just pretend for a moment that they are, okay? Well, you might just end up playing a orc detachment that has a disposition that counters the disposition of the Tau. So even if the army is too hard for you to play against, you might be able to force a primary mission that the Tau suck at and that you're really good at, and then you could just win on points. So there are so many different ways to counter like the top army now. I think this new method of dispositions and forcing different types of primary scoring is really going to be a additional balancing factor on the table. So even if a army does maybe get overpowered units, and guys, I'm not saying Tau is overpowered. I'm just using it as an example. Someone's gonna type in the comments that I said blah. Anyway, so now we can actually use our primary scoring as a way to counter our opponents as well, and it's very, very cool. All right, so the reason why I find Warhorde still goated is actually a reason that has a lot of people scratching their heads. So the disposition for Warhorde is actually not Purge the Foe. It's not the one that wants you to go and murder your opponent's models, which is very interesting because it is the Achilles detachment we have. But this actually plays to Warhorde's strengths. Take and hold wants Warhorde to just move up and just barely touch the objectives and just hold the objectives, taking advantage of its really durable battle wagons, taking advantage of hidden with giving loan up to all of your infantry. This is a very, very big deal because when our opponent is playing against us with our take and hold, they're almost inevitably going to be required to come and take the objectives off of us, especially if they're going to be playing Purge the Foe. And as of right now, Purge the Foe looks like the raw strongest of the dispositions. So I think you're going to be seeing a lot of people taking Purge the Foe dispositions at the beginning. Not to mention, people just like killing stuff. I mean, killing stuff in 40k is awesome, so I don't blame them for it. But when they do this, they have to come closer to the Orks. This actually makes it, if they're ever going to be scoring, this actually makes it a lot easier for the Warhorde to generate a really, really big Wa turn, which is exactly what they want to freaking do. So I do believe Warhorde with Take and Hold is probably the strongest. And one of the biggest benefits to Warhorde, from my experience, I've got several games under my belt now, it's due to the Dakka rig. The Dakka rig really, really opens things up for Warhorde. Now, I've been playing it at 120 points. I could be wrong. I think we're going to get points either this Friday or like next Wednesday or something. We're going to be getting it pretty soon. So once we get it, I will adjust the play that I've been doing to account for the actual points. I've just been trialing it at 120 because I assumed the Dakka rig's profile is going to be valued anywhere between 100 and 130. So that's what I've been going with. And obviously, we'll be making adjustments for that. But with the addition of that Dakka rig, it allows us to slightly engage with some of our opponent's skirmishing units without actually having to send all of our melee stuff forward super, super early, which allows us to create massive primary leads by holding objectives, forcing our opponent to come a little bit closer to us, and then we get to wall all up in their face. So that's Warhorde. I do think it's still the strongest, but it's not clearly the strongest anyway. There's a lot of really, really good arguments. As a matter of fact, if when we get to like the third one here, you're gonna be like, ooh, okay, maybe Warhorde is ready to retire, and you might disagree with me, and it won't be because I think you're like making a big mistake. It'll be because some of these things are really, really good. Green Tide plus Tactical Brigade. This is freaking sick. So Green Tide, it is the same as it was in the previous edition. In Green Tide, guys, everyone gets a 5-up invulnerable save when you have a squad of more than 10 orc boys, which is a really, really big deal because a 5-up invulnerable save stacked with new cover rules being -1 ballistic skill, is actually a dramatic increase in the durability of your orc boys. Doesn't mean you're durable yet, but it's actually a dramatic increase in the durability of your orc boys versus the last edition where you just got +1 to your armor. -1 to your enemy's ballistic skill is much more impactful than taking your armor save from 5 up to 4 up. It's a big deal, especially since you have a 5-up invulnerable save anyway in Green Tide. So much more durable. This Horde play is really, really powerful, especially when you stack it with the hidden special rule, because the hidden special rule is going to mean that you can just have your boys touching the objectives, and then your opponent must get within 15 inches to be shooting you. And there are ways to make that distance even shorter, just like there are ways to make that distance longer in the game. So nuance always. But when we stack it with Tactical Brigade, something really interesting happens. We get the option to either be playing the disposition of Take and Hold, just like Warhorde, or playing Disruption. And the Disruption is the one where you kind of get points for everything. You get points for holding your opponent's home field, teleporting, weird boys with bonuses to charge out of Deep Strike. That's a pretty good option for that. You also get points for killing your opponent. You get points for doing actions. So with all these units, one of the really, really neat things we can be doing is when we stack it with Tactical Brigade, now suddenly our boys have the ability to fall back and do actions. This is exceptionally freaking powerful, and it's going to be leading to some very, very interesting things that we can do, because we want massive amounts of infantry, and particularly boys. But if I'm a friendly boy squad with Tactical Brigade as a detachment, suddenly now all my boys can advance, fall back, move, and still do actions. That's pretty good, because Green Tide doesn't actually like having to kill its opponents, because it's not particularly good at killing its opponents, but it's really, really dang good at just massive objective control and getting actions done, especially when Tactical Brigade enables us to fall back and do those actions. So I think this is a very, very powerful way to play Orks. If you like the Horde style, this is for you, and it is going to do amazing things on the tabletop. I'm already salivating at just how good it is at scoring. Now, it's not particularly my preferred play style, which is why I'm still more of a Warhorde guy, because I like crumping people in the freaking face. But that's why Green Tide is going to be really strong. Now, the next one is one that's very interesting to me, and it might pull me away from Warhorde. Freebootaz, which was the most recent detachment that we got back in 10th edition. It's the one where you choose a objective in your command phase, and then every unit in your army gets sustained hits against it. Well, not every unit. It's infantry, it's walkers, it's mounted. So most units in your army will get sustained hits if they are targeting a unit on that objective, or if you are on that objective. So you can get sustained hits in shooting, you can get sustained hits in melee. It's a very, very powerful detachment. It is missing the native sustained hits in melee that Warhorde has, so its damage is a little bit reduced, but it can also be dramatically increased because now you can stack like shooting operations and stuff in it as well. You also have access to an auto 6-inch advance, which is an extremely, extremely powerful ability in the game to guarantee that you're going to get the movement that you want. In addition to this, you can get reroll. I don't need to go through all those details. Anyway, Freebootaz, the reason why it really, really likes stacking with more Dakka is suddenly all those infantry that you kind of want to be shooting with now suddenly get assault. In addition to that, you've got a stratagem in Mordaka to either A, ignore cover, which is really powerful, especially if you're trying to proc like heavy on some of your flash kits, which might not be the easiest thing, but you can do it, meaning your flash kits hit on 4s, they don't take the -1 ballistic skill. You've also got a stratagem for +1 AP if you're shooting people, I believe, if memory serves, within 9 inches. Fact check me on that one. That's a very, very big deal because now we can have Ludas who are just blasting away with full rerolls to hit, with sustained hits. Their AP is true. That's massively powerful in this combination, especially when you can just auto 6 advance them and still shoot, because Mordaka gives infantry units in Orks armies the ability to have assault. This is strong, guys. It also gives you the ability to switch your disposition between take and hold and purge, depending on how you really want to focus your army into scoring, which is really strong. Because like I said earlier, as of right now, off of initial impressions, and this could change, purge the foe does look to be like the easiest to score disposition, but take and hold is also a really good one. So you for various reasons, you might want to do one or the other. Now, the next combinations are going to be either Bully Boys or the Big Hunts with either Dakka or Rolling Death. The reason why I'm really interested in these, and these just need playtesting, I don't have quite as much information for you with these combinations right now because I just need time to playtest them. The reason why I'm really interested in Bully Boys and the Big Hunts right now is because these detachments, while they were bad compared to Warhorde back in 10th edition, now that we get the addition of this extra detachment, it might be just enough to push them over the freaking edge. In addition to that, we're getting certain unit updates, which should all be delivered next week. So things like Squig Hog Boys are getting the mobile keyword, so Squig Hog Boys will now be able to run straight through walls. That's a very, very big deal. So make sure that you're paying attention to things like this. So it is making me interested in the Big Hunts. Now, the reason why I really particularly like Bully Boys, especially with the Roll and Death, is because in the Roll and Death, you can get the auto advance 6 on all the battle wagons that you might want to be transporting all of your, what do you call it? Mega knobs, those ones. And you can also get bonuses to charge out of the battle wagons. It gives you certain interesting things. Now, you can also, if you take the Roll and Death, you can get yourself the priority assets disposition. And that is going to be allowing you to do lots of actions near the center of the board with your hyper durable, battle wagons, which I understand that they can be killed, but they are still incredibly durable for their points cost, especially with their permanent AOC. And in addition, where everyone loses cover, they're probably one of the most durable things basically out there, which is very freaking big. So these are things that I'm interested in. The last one is another really obvious one, which I think is also very, very cool. You've seen it on stream a few times now. Dread Mob plus more Dakka. This is going to be purge, purge. You're just going to be going full on, trying to murder everything When you combine these two detachments together, you get multiple units that can ignore cover due to a stratagem from the Mordaka detachment, and one that can ignore cover due to an enhancement from the Dread Mob detachment. Very powerful. I believe you can actually do the same thing in Freebootaz. But in Mordaka, you can, on the Wa turn, get sustained hits on all of your infantry squads. And if those infantry squads happen to be led by mechs, then you can also push the button to also give them lethal hits, which is very, 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 very cool. So there's a lot of things that we can do to really stack these things up. Now, one thing that we might choose differently is we might choose Dreadmob and pair it with, say, Tactical Brigade, specifically so we can get access to the Disruption um, disposition. And the reason why this is really important is because in Dreadmob, we can take up to 6 squads of Gretchen, which definitely have the ability to get tons of board control and do actions in various places, which might dramatically increase your ability to be scoring while you are shooting the faces off of your opponent. So these are the current combos that I'm really looking at for Orks as far as like dispositions and stuff are concerned. There are a lot of really dope things. Let me tell you a really super, super cool unit combo. So if I'm running the Freebootaz and the Mordaka, it's the go turn. I'm declaring the Wa. I'm going to auto advance my flash kits. My flash kits are going to move on up. I'm going to have 1 CP, and I'm going to probably give them Blast. Blast with their sustained hits, with their once per game lethal hits, with their AP1. There's ways that you can even get it to AP2. It gets absolutely disgusting how much damage that unit can push out, and then they can still freaking charge with sustained hits so long as one model is touching the natural or the objective, or is attacking a unit that is on the objective that is your looted objective. This unit combo is frightening. Can you say frightening? Not to mention, we can still do things like all the just the normal freebooters stuff, like auto advance your freaking beast snaggers, get 4 rolls to wound with sustained hits on that natural objective, so you're obliterating effectively any monster vehicle in the entire game. So these are some really, really sick things. Hopefully, I gave you some good food for thought. Let me know what you're really excited for the Orks, and until next time, crump on. Bye bye.